Remember, you are in charge of your narrative. Yes, something happened to you. Yes, that did affect you and it did refine you, but that doesn't define you. You are not what happened. Hi, it's Misty Eyez, and this Ask Misty is, what are my thoughts on how to overcome and or cope with trauma? Well, the first thing I want to say is trauma does not affect everyone the same. So your dealing with trauma is going to be very different from my dealing with trauma. Also, what is traumatic to me might not be traumatic to you and vice versa. For example, there was a time in my life, in the 90s, I had a stalker. And I was a closeted Christian Oral Roberts University student. And I had went on this date with this guy who was actually like probably insane asylum, not well. And stalked me and scared me and made my life torture. The only cool thing out of that was he snuck me into a gay bar before I was 21. But I was very closeted and very afraid that people in Tulsa would find out that I was LGBTQ. And when we broke up, he used to send me pictures and flowers and things like that to my dorm room or my office, because I worked in the business department at ORU. And I was terrified that someone would find out, A, that a guy sent them, and or B, somehow find that I would be turned in and kicked out of school. Long story short, there was a time in my life, and it's not like that anymore, but there was a time in my life, if somebody sent me flowers and for no reason at work, I got flowers, it would send panic through my soul. I don't think most humans get panic when they get flowers. They're like, oh my gosh, there's their card, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, for like maybe 10 years, I was traumatized by getting flowers for no unexpected flowers. If it's my birthday or whatever, I might expect it, but why do I have flowers? So what affects me doesn't necessarily affect you and vice versa. That's important to know. Another thing to cope with trauma is say its name. Say it out loud. Years ago, I used to talk about being molested a lot. And I don't mean I talked about it a lot. I mean, I mentioned it in several videos, and I'm sure I've mentioned it in several videos recently. When you have trauma, and being molested from 3 years old to 13 is trauma, when you have trauma and you refuse to acknowledge it, and you refuse to say its name, and you refuse to see it, you allow it to thrive in the darkness and thrive in the shadows. But if you speak its name, it doesn't have power. It doesn't define me. This is something that happened to me that was probably meant to break me, but it did not break me. I am a survivor, and I'm getting through this. Also, I am not ashamed of this. It happened to me. I am not this. Like, I am not my diagnosis. I am a person that struggles with this diagnosis, but I am not that. So, for example, diabetic. I'm now pre-diabetic, but there was a time when I was a person with diabetes. So when you say its name, you are able to move from the I am broken to I am a person that's healing. Speaking its name, shedding light on the subject. Kind of like, what is that saying in AA? The first step is acknowledging you have a problem. When you acknowledge it, it takes away it doesn't take away all the pain. I'm not going to say it just magically disappears, but it takes away its power over you. And especially a person that's in the closet, there's that closetry really holds a lot of power on them. Also, when you are dealing with trauma, focus on breath work. Inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. Another thing is, do not isolate. Trauma has a tendency to make you feel like you are a horrible, evil, gross person. We send ourselves these messages of, I am unworthy, I am disgusting, I don't deserve. And therefore we begin to self-isolate and become reclusive. That's the absolute worst thing you could do. Don't do that. Don't do it. Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. If you have to just go to the mall and walk around by yourself, that's still isolation in a public space, but at least you left your house. At least you took a shower and put on clothes and left. So maybe baby step to do that, but you're not a horrible, evil, gross person. Something happened to you that does not make you a bad person. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, don't become reclusive. Loneliness will kill you faster than smoking. So what I mean by that is loneliness is like smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It's very bad for you. And in our depression and in our trauma, we like to hide. This is the time you're most going to need other humans. You're going to need community. You're going to need safe connection. So whatever that means is, get out of your house and go do something with other people. To find fellowship of like-minded people, and you need to develop a sense of community. You cannot isolate. But what if you found a support group? What if you talked to other people that are going through a similar situation? Overeaters Anonymous, Anorexia Anonymous, I don't know if that's actually a thing, Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, Transgender Support Group, adults. There's got to be hundreds of support groups for people that are dealing with whatever you're dealing with. I know that Nancy J. Cotterman downtown Fort Lauderdale, if you're in Fort Lauderdale, they have a survivors support group for anyone that has suffered sexual assault, rape, molestation, etc. You are not what happened, but it did open your eyes. And now you will be very cautious not to ever go back into that situation again. Or you will see the warning signs when it's about to happen. You can respect yourself and protect yourself and get the hell out of Dodge, right? Remember, you are in charge of your life and you are in charge of your own personal narrative. Something that happened to you does not define you. Yes, it affects you. And something I say, and I don't know if it's my resilience talk or in one of my keynotes, one of the things I often say is, yes, hurt people hurt people. But hurt people also help people. I have never met somebody in social services, mental health therapy, or life coaching, etc., that was not helping out of pain. In fact, when I was little, and I was forced by the court when my father was not yet arrested, or maybe he was arrested, I don't know, but during the trials, the pre-trials and stuff, I remember I had to go see a child psychologist. And I remember on the elevator with one of my child psychologists, I remember telling her and then telling my mother that when I grew up, I wanted to be a child psychologist. Because I don't remember really, but I think she helped me so much that I wanted to help other people. So paying it forward, redefining your story, using that pain to create something. Lady Gaga, for example, is very open and honest about her trauma and her past pain and her assault. And artists are an excellent example of someone who has worked through that pain and able to create something beautiful. But helping others, creating, and refusing to sink into that darkness and refusing to isolate would be the tips and tricks that I would definitely give you. And if you're a person of faith, lean into that. Another one for the sense of community and or meditation and or prayer. I was church hurt. I was very, very, very church hurt. When I got kicked out of ORU, I turned my back on all Christians. I turned my back on God. But many of my old ORU friends would message me back and be like, you're still doing God's work. Don't know if you realize it, but you're still doing it. And another person was like, I went to this really good, open and affirming church you might want to come to. And I guess the last thing is be creative. Hurt people, yes, that is a fact. But hurt people also help people. I've never met a social worker, a mental health professional, a life coach that hasn't been dealt with their own trauma. In fact, when I was little and had to go to court for being molested, my dad went to jail, and I had to go see a child psychologist every week. And I remember telling my mom or teacher at school, I don't remember who I told, but I remember telling someone, I'm going to be a child psychologist when I'm older. I guess I like that she helped me so much. But even Lady Gaga, for example, is very open and honest about her trauma and her pain. You can create beautiful things from that trauma. Art, painting, music, poetry, films, helping other people. In fact, that should be a Misty Minute. Hi, it's Misty Eyez, and this Misty Minute is about trauma, PTSD. It is a well-known fact that hurt people can hurt people, but also hurt people can help people. Whatever happened to you did not define you. It refined you. You are in charge of your narrative. You can write your own future. You can set healthy boundaries. Anyways, that was Misty Eyez. Loving you is easy. 2 in 1 for this video, huh?